Hi everybody, my name's Stephen Forsyth. I am a Plus Programme Officer at the University of Leeds, and today I'm going to be talking about student finance, cost of living and budgeting. The first part of the presentation, we're going to look at what costs you can expect whilst you're at university. And the first one we're going to look at is course costs. So obviously there's sort of four key elements to this sort of slide. You're looking at tuition fees, you're looking at textbooks, printing costs and travel costs. And they're kind of the four key course costs that you'll experience whilst you're at university. I'll talk to you a bit more about tuition fees shortly, but in terms of your course that you've applied for, the course that you're looking to study, textbooks will probably come as part of that, and depending on what course you get, you might get recommended to sort of buy certain textbooks that might support with your learning. There's also the printing costs that would come with that as well, and there's also maybe the travel costs, which maybe going to placements, maybe things like that, maybe different sort of activities amongst your course. So the recommendation here would be definitely to look into sort of the information on the specific course website, on the university's website, to get as much information as possible about your specific course that you've chosen to study at the University of Leeds. The other costs to expect are living costs. And there is slightly sort of like more variety in that, depending on a few different things. So living costs of travel, that could be travel sort of to and from university of where you stay, and it could also include sort of maybe travel home to see friends and family. It could also include travel if you're a commuter student as well. So dependent on your situation, that your travel costs within your living costs might sort of depend on where you live and what option you've chosen. Again, linking that into the accommodation. Majority of sort of first year students may be looking at living at student halls, student accommodation, and then in further years you might change. But the accommodation is a large part of your living costs whilst you're here. And dependent on where you live, depending on what sort of accommodation you've chosen, will depend on how much that will be kind of expected to pay. And we'll talk to you a bit more about that throughout the presentation, particularly regarding sort of budgeting and cost of living. The other ones are all things to really consider, the different costs to expect. So you've got your bills, your food, shopping, you've got like phones, social media, things like that, or socialising, to go out. That could be out to sort of bars, restaurants, it could be at museums, any sort of thing that you would consider as a social opportunity, and also your health as well. So there's lots of different factors for you to consider, and the reason we were sort of bringing them to your attention now prior to applying is to make you aware of that, and therefore hopefully you will be able to budget sort of sufficiently, or even look into it and have that conversation before arriving. As I mentioned about sort of the tuition fees, we're going to go in a bit more detail just now. So there is government funding available via the Student Loans Company. It's owned and sort of run by the government, so it's nothing to do with the university. It's completely separate. It's not a private company lender or a bank, and also you are able to apply for two different types of loans. We've kind of talked about the different costs, and this links into that. So you've got your tuition fee loan, which is looking at sort of like your course costs, your tuition fee, and you've also got your maintenance loan, which is looking into your living costs, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail shortly. In terms of your tuition fee loan, it covers the course fees up to £9,535 per year. That is a recent sort of published figure. It's a 2025 figure. This one's not based on household income. It's just a sort of a standard amount that you'll receive if you're eligible. It's paid sort of directly from the Students' Loan Company to the college and university. So this isn't money that you will receive in your bank account, for example. It will just get paid directly to the university when you enrol and when you register there. It is repayable, and that will be done on a plan which will be discussed sort of throughout your time, and you'll be able to find that online, and nothing's paid upfront as well. The eligibility criteria, as you can see, includes sort of UK citizen, lived in the UK for 3 years, studied in the UK, and also your first degree. I'd recommend sort of looking at our website, as you can see a link to that there, for more information about your tuition fee loans. The maintenance loan for living costs, that's paid from the Students' Loan Company directly to yourself in sort of 3 instalments. And the amount you receive is dependent on different factors. So it depends on where you choose to study, where you choose to live, your personal circumstances, and what you are studying as well. So there's lots of different factors to consider there. In terms of other sources of income as well, you've also got the scholarships that you're able to sort of look into, and that's dependent on the university. They might also be linked. There's sort of different scholarships available. There's personal circumstances scholarships, there's academic achievement, and there's sport as well. Other sources of income you may receive, we would maybe sort of suggest looking into, is sort of some part-time work to support your finances whilst you're at university. We wouldn't recommend anything more than up to sort of 15 hours per week during term time. That's advised amount. With sort of support students finding part-time work as well, and the university can help. But on anything more than 15 hours, you are putting a strain on sort of your academic work as well, so we wouldn't be recommending anything more than that. There is also a lot of work that Martin Lewis has done around sort of parental contribution. We're fully aware that that is not a possibility for every student. Every student has a slightly different sort of setup. Some students may not have any parental support. Some students may have parents, but they may not be able to afford that. Others may be able to do that. So this is different to everybody again. But there is also a conversation to be had for some students where parental contribution might factor into your budgeting, it might factor into your planning, and you might be able to sort of talk to them prior to arriving over how much financial support is available to you. And it's really important to have those conversations prior to arriving in September. So now we're just going to look at the cost of living and budgeting sides, and try to suggest ways of making the most of your university experience. So these are estimated costs. These are kind of different to everywhere you may be looking at, but you can kind of see roughly what the estimated costs sort of for the different activities are. So you got your different types of university accommodation. As you can see, the self-catered is obviously slightly cheaper because therefore you're not going to be paying for food, whereas the catered accommodation where food comes in is slightly higher. So you might want to look at that and think you might have a preference over having catered to make sure that you're getting meals and you're getting healthy meals and things like that. You might feel you're confident enough to kind of take on responsibility for cooking, and then you might be able to save some money by doing it in a self-catered flat as well. There's also private accommodation as well, which obviously it's a sort of like a larger range as well across the city, and that's something that we wouldn't be able to inform you on as much because obviously we're not owning that accommodation. But obviously private accommodation is another option for you to consider as well. In terms of, I'd already mentioned groceries regarding if you're self-catered or not, but obviously if you're catered, that wouldn't be included, or you wouldn't need to think about that. But you need to start thinking about the costs that of like getting your food ready for that full week as well, and where about you want to go and shop and things like that. There's also household bills to consider. I'd say sort of most university accommodation that would be included in some private accommodation, but you want to be looking at that and making sure you read the sort of the fine print. And there's also personal costs as well, which we kind of mentioned regarding the living costs slide regarding transport, socialising, and things like that. It is really, really important for you to consider all these different options, and it'll really, really help and support when you look to sort of come to university if you're thinking about how much budget you may have to spend per week. To make sure you have enough money for your accommodation, living and study costs is a really good idea, and we kind of try to recommend for students to start thinking about this earlier. It might be quite a dry topic. It might be something that you may not have considered is that is an important thing, but it is really, really crucial. We're seeing now finance students financing themselves through university is more challenged with the cost of living. There's things that are higher prices, and you want to try to have the best possible time whilst you're at university. And budgeting is one of those things to consider. It's something that you can always get better at, I would assume. I think that's talking as somebody who's been through university and now in employment. There's times when I probably should be budgeting better. But you learn as you go through. There will be help and advice available to students at university around this, so keep an eye out that for when you arrive. But it's something you want to be considering having conversations about with your school or your college or friends, family, or somebody that you know who has been to university maybe recently or anything like that, or even reach out and have a look at the university's websites that we've been referencing throughout the presentation. There's lots of different sort of budgeting tips and advice available. There's sort of budgeting calculators online, which can help you work out your weekly costs. There's different student discount sort of places. You've got Uniday, Student Beans. I would definitely be doing sort of like a bit of a search online prior to arriving, whether that's signing up for something like cheaper food on certain days. There's so many different things out there as well. And there's lots of advice from current students in what ways that they've spent their money and advice on that. And a lot of this information you could look at is the student living cost blogs. I think hearing from current students is really helpful, and they've got as much sort of the insight as well. And also there is the Students' Union as well, which will probably give out sort of advice and tips, and they do different things, the Student Money Week and things like that. And there's also a team at the university available to help. Next thing we're going to talk about is job opportunities. I think earning while you're learning to get some extra cash is really helpful as well. So we'll go through that. As I've kind of mentioned prior, we recommend up to 15 hours per week during term time. Anything more than that, you might be sort of encroaching on time that you might want to spend revising during the exam season and things like that. It's dependent on your course as well. Some courses may come with a lot of placements, so therefore the opportunity to work is more challenging. So they're the things maybe you might be looking at, maybe working over the summer, for example. You might work more full time for a period of time, but you're not able to work as much when you're at university. So it's really, really important to kind of do the research. There is like support getting part-time work via the job link at university. So that's something that you could be doing some research on just now. You can have a look at our website, for example. It's also worthwhile bearing in mind that a lot of the roles that you are able to apply for, there are university jobs. So, for example, including becoming a student ambassador, as you can see that the student on the screen there, somebody you may have met at an open day, or somebody you may have met online at sort of like an online event or something like that. We do have a lot of university jobs available for students at the university, which helps because there's an understanding over the commitments of being what a student is like. So a lot of it is, there's not contractual hours of so many nights per week or so many days. It's basically you can apply to work when you are free to work, and it's really, really helpful. We've also got a career centre at the university as well, which is always good for sort of like future planning, CV and interview advice. You're able to book sort of appointments in with them. So if you do start, say, in September, and you may be thinking like you need to get a part-time job, then you are able to book in appointments to really support and help you get that sort of paid opportunity as well to support with your studies. So in terms of what financial support is available at the university, that's the next stage of the presentation. So we'll be going through that. So the additional support available, we talk about Students' Loan Company, there's the DSA, there's dependence grants, we talk about scholarships, bursaries, NHS Learning Fund as well, and then the undergraduate social work bursary. So there's lots of additional support. So if that's sort of relevant to you, I'd recommend sort of looking into that in a bit more detail, and I will go through some of these shortly now in a bit more detail with some advice from the university. So we have something here called the Leeds Bursary. It's a non-repayable money support for your studies. The amount received depends on your student loan, sort of student loans company income assessment. If you don't have income assessment in place, then you will not be able to receive the Leeds Bursary. The income assessment is something that you'll do at the application for your student finance. It's very important you do that. There is you don't have to take a loan out to receive or to have your income assessed, but it's something that would be, if you were getting a loan out, you will be doing that as well. So it's worthwhile bearing that in mind to make sure you have your income assessed. It is an automatic payment, as I've said, as long as you've had agreed to sharing your sort of income assessment with the university. So there's nothing you can do that you don't apply for it or anything like that. It's just automatically paid to you if you've shared your household income assessment with the university and it's below the certain amount to be eligible. It's not competitive. So again, that means there's not an application. It's not like a process to go through. You're not competing with anybody. It's basically if your household income assessment is lower than a set amount, then you will receive that. It is worth up to £2,000 per year, depending on your household income. So I'd be looking at going on to the Leeds Bursary website, having a look at how much money you may be entitled to once you've sort of received your household income assessment, and you'll be able to figure that one out. There's also support for disabled students at the university. There's sort of academic focus, so there's inclusive teaching practices, reasonable adjustments, accessible rooms, extra time and note takers. So there's lots of sort of support available. There is funding available for disabled students via the DSA to fund additional specialist equipment and resources, and that's something that you'll be doing in line with your student finance application as well. So ensure if that is something that's linked to yourself and it's something that you would need to apply for, you do that at the same time. There's other sort of external providers as well that might be able to offer you some sort of financial care, so it's worthwhile sort of looking into those then, dependent on your circumstances. We always recommend with student finance is to apply early and ensure you share the information with the sort of the relevant teams as well. You can do that on UCAS, and I think if it's something that you want to reach out to the university in advance, you had a question or something like that that's going to support you, then the recommendation is to do that in advance. So yeah, I sort of look and apply for your loan or your finance as early as possible, and also reach out to the relevant teams as soon as possible, so you're not leaving it to the last minute. You're getting everything set up ready for when you arrive. There's also automatic support based on grades as well. So the University of Leeds awards a generous range of scholarships for students at all levels of study in some academic schools. So there's academic scholarships available for the most talented candidates, and we consider all eligible applicants would demonstrate outstanding sort of academic and personal achievement. So these are run at school and faculty, so depending on what you've applied for will depend on what sort of scholarships are or are not available to you. So you can find more information on the page below or on the screen, and you'll be able to sort of link that into your faculty in your school as well, and the course you've applied for, to see what sort of possible scholarships are available to you and how you therefore would find out more information about them. We also have a means tested scholarship at the University of Leeds as well. And this is based around your means tested, your household income assessment. So as you can see on the screen there, if your household income assessment is less than £42,875 a year, just remembering that that was the figure from 2024 entry, and this could be subject to change, you may be eligible to apply for a means tested undergraduate scholarship. When the scholarships open, this information will be accurate at the time. It's just a presentation will be recorded prior to that. It is worth £3,000 per year over a 3-year period, and it's paid in cash instalments. It's not like a lump sum. It's paid out over sort of 8 equal instalments throughout the academic year. This is non-repayable, similar to the Leeds Bursary. It's in addition to any financial support you receive from the government, so the tuition fee and the loan amount, this is on top of that. You must be eligible to meet the criteria, though this alone will not guarantee your award. So this is, when I say the word competitive, it's not the means tested scholarship. Not everybody will receive that. There will be more applications than places available. So it's not just meeting eligibility criteria will guarantee you award. There's other elements to that. You can apply for a means tested scholarship before you make a firm or insurance choice. So we'd recommend the application sort of period I'll talk about in a second, but we recommend you applying for this. If you miss the deadline for the scholarships, you will not be able to be considered past that point. And as part of the scholarship, it also includes pastoral care and employability skills development via the Plus programme, in which I mentioned at the start of the presentation I'm a member of. So there is different sort of support available as a result of receiving the scholarship. These are some sort of the non-financial criteria that I'm going to talk to you about. So we're looking at trying to demonstrate sort of students with first generation to attend would be sort of seen as a sort of stronger application. The more you meet of these, it's going to be helpful for your application as well. But if you don't, there'll be more information sort of when you apply. We'd still recommend you doing so. It's just these are kind of like the non-financial criteria that we're looking at. So it's no previous higher education level study, personal, social and domestic life disruption, so something that's impacted you throughout sort of like your life, particularly around your academic studies. Areas of low progression into HE, if you're care experience or estranged student, if you have care responsibilities, or if you're a refugee or asylum seeker as well. The means tested scholarships applications deadline will be on May 2025. We don't have a specific date yet, but it tends to be towards the end of May. As I mentioned previously, if you do not apply, or if you miss the application deadline, then you're not able to apply after that point. So it's making sure you get your applications in on time. But you can find more information on our website there, or you can email the UG scholarships at leeds.ac.uk email address to find out more information. But as I said, this will be sort of displayed online from March time, and the application will be closing at the sort of round at the end of May, but the exact dates haven't yet been confirmed. If you are a care experience or a strange student, we're also, and you're able to evidence that, there's also sort of further a bursary available to you, up to £2,000 of additional funding for every year that you receive the undergraduate means tested scholarship or the Leeds Bursary. So to receive this, you will have to be in receipt of either of those. If you want to know more about sort of this bursary and any other sort of support that we offer, then you can see the email addresses below for the suitable email address for your needs. But yeah, there's more information online about that, and just to reiterate, that would be for students who are in receipt of the Leeds Bursary or is in receipt of the means tested scholarship. So making sure your income assessment is in place, for example, is really, really important to receive that extra bursary. So where to go for financial support at the university? I think there's so much support available whilst you're here. I think it's just knowing where to go and feeling confident enough to approach and ask the questions. The Leeds University Union do a lot to help students whilst they're here. Not always. You may have planned a really good, strong budgeting plan, and something may have happened and it's not worked out. Things may not always go to plan. We're aware of that. So the Universities Union is a really good place for you to go and for you to sort of ask for help. And they'll be very sort of familiar and they do a lot of work with students as well. It could be something to do with a house deposit, conflict with your housemates, or financial worries. The union can help. So it's not just financial support that they offer, but that's one of like the main ones that probably the union will help to do that. The service is completely free. It's confidential, and they sort of work independently from university. So you're able to go to them if you want to have sort of advice around a few different things as well. Although the university will also offer support via the funding team. But it's worthwhile referencing the Universities Union, and there's a link to their website as well that you can go to for some more information. These are also sort of further useful websites that you can look into, and I think I've made it clear throughout this whole presentation the importance of doing the research now and finding out what financial support and packages are available to you. So therefore you've covered all the different aspects of today's presentation in advance. We kind of recommend starting your research early in the application cycle, usually after sort of the Christmas break. That gives you hopefully enough time sort of to get everything in place, apply for your student finance, look at the budgeting, think about the cost of living, think of all the different aspects you need to consider. And there's a list of different sort of university websites, but also sort of there's a government website there, and there's also a money saving expert as well, which has more information about that. But speaking to other people is a really good source of information as well. And I thoroughly recommend doing as much possible research as you can prior to arriving here in September to give yourself the best opportunity to enjoy and maximise your experience whilst you're at the University of Leeds. Like I said, my name is Stephen. Thank you very much for listening today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day after watching this presentation, and we look forward to welcoming you into the university in the future. And we also look forward to hearing any questions you may have via all the links on the slides we've given you today. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.